self-settle. So tell us more about what you mean, or what the concept means,
Yeah.
self-settle.
Yeah. Well, self-settle is a very interesting concept, one that I feel quite strongly about. Self-settling is a really complex um cognitive process. There are some adults that still are incapable of
Of course.
regulating their own feelings and
Mm.
taking themselves from a place of real anger or distress or upset or whatever that heightened emotion is, um, where their body's reacting with massive increases of hormones that kind of stress their bodies, um, to a place of really calm. Um, so obviously, trying to expect a young baby or a child to kind of be left alone to then just magically learn how to do this is a little bit puzzling. And it takes a huge amount of support and coaching and education to kind of help people to learn this, whether that's in their childhood or in their adulthood.
Mm.
So when we think about babies and young children, what they require is what we call co regulation.
Yeah.
So, co regulation is where together the parent and the child become settled and calm as their parent kind of supports them and coaches them. So, for babies, this would be comfort, rocking, swaying, shushing, giving them the kind of um, physical tools to calm them,
Mm.
um, to the best of their ability. And I would always encourage that because um, my one golden tip that I give to all parents is that we can't force sleep, but we can enable calm.
Mm.
And children can't fall asleep from a place of high stress, but they can fall asleep when they are calm. So all parents' job is around facilitating sleep is making sure their child is calm. And what we do to create this calm is co-regulate with our child. So we would be, you know, doing all those lovely things. If it's a newborn, those five S's in the kind of infancy period,
Mm.
um, things like white noise or a special bedtime song or the lovely calming bath time bedtime routine, whatever those kind of things are that kind of slow down those big busy days and bring us to a place of relaxation. Um, Obviously, when we're kind of heightened and stressed and crying, we need to layer in more of these tools. And we might call that kind of habit stacking, kind of integrating more and more tools um, to kind of calm that situation. And as children experience this, this happens quicker. Um, so in older children, we can kind of coach them that writing down their worries or taking big deep breaths can be helpful.
Mm.
And interestingly, with parents, if you take big, slow inhale, exhales, um, children naturally kind of pick up on this subliminally, and they also can learn to calm their breathing as well.
Mm.
Um, so it takes a lot of self-regulation as an adult to kind of to support children to do this, and a lot of patience. It's not always easy.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, self-soothing is a really complex, not really not really something we can expect children to do.
No.
Um, so obviously co-regulation is key, and ultimately that calm, creating that calm is
Yeah.
what we need to do
Yeah.
um, to
Yeah,
reduce
how can we,
distress.
I mean, how can you're so right. How can we expect a 1-year-old to soothe themselves
Hmm.
when, like you said, many adults, these, even though you might have brilliant self-regulation techniques to support you, at times we can't always call upon our own self-regulation skills. Sometimes we need someone, right, to hold us or
Yes,
to just talk things through. And I know there's some
exactly.
research on loneliness, right? So if it could be just as detrimental for our health as smoking or something like that. Because if we don't have people supporting us, then it's kind of scary, right? So it impacts the system in quite a
Absolutely.
big way. And now, as adults who can't always do that ourselves, we expect the poor little babies to do that. So
Mhm.
I get your, you know,
Yeah.
your thinking around this. Um, so one thing that I'm curious about, so you mentioned that instead of, you know, we can't force sleep, but we can enable calm. I love that.
Yeah.
So what's happening when the child does fall asleep, when they're crying themselves to sleep, right? When with something like sleep training, how does that work then? Because obviously they're not in a calm space.
So the terminology that has been discussed in research papers is learnt helplessness. So what this means is that the children kind of come to a point where they've cried so much, sometimes to the point where they've made themselves sick, which is very distressing for parents and babies. Um, and they just basically shut down and they stop calling out for help. Um, Obviously it's really difficult to kind of um research this area, so it's not something that's ethical to do, and obviously it's kind of often self-report kind of things and then scientific kind of exploration of this. But yeah, the terminology is learnt helplessness, and it's a basically that children just stop calling for help because they know it's not going to come. And that in itself, just even hearing that is quite distressing for
Yeah.
us as
Wow.
adults. Um, so
Mm.
obviously for children, we don't know the impact that that's having on them.
Mm. But I can imagine that you know, in that stage of development, that it could have quite a huge impact on the rest of their lives when they've
Absolutely.
learned to
Yeah.
soothe through numbing themselves to a certain degree,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's quite difficult to say the impact that has upon attachment, etc. But we
Mm.
can potentially imagine how that might impact moving
Mm.
forward into their childhood and adulthood later on.